exciting for me personally to be up here with powerhouses. It's like you each are your own powerhouse unto yourself, and then all together there is an incredible amount of momentum up here and coming from there as well. And I'm very intimidated. So thank you all for being here. And my name is Simi, and I'll be moderating this panel today on building audience across disciplines. We all might be furrowing our brow a little bit and asking ourselves, what does that mean? Well, we have a bunch of experts up here who will talk about their own subjective understanding of what building audience means in their own industries, and then we're going to share ideas about the challenges and solutions to raising up women's artistry and putting out a call to action in our own industries, in cross disciplines, and with the greater audience of the world, the global world. So there's a lot to touch on, and there are more panelists than what are written down on the sheet, so we will get there. It takes a village. So I'm going to say names, and please either raise your hand or do a flare of your voice or body to show us that you're here. Felicia Lynn, Literature. Hello. Lee Anderson, Music. Hello. Maggie Cousins, Visual Art. Melissa Riker, Dance. Nice. Claire. Naomi McDougall-Jones, Film. Terrific. Shellen Lubin, Theater. Yeah. That's it. Vanessa Morrison, Film. Jennifer, what is your last name?
Ho-Dugatz. Yeah, it's a little confusing. Ho-Dugatz.
Ho-Dugatz.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I heard it. And
yes,
what is your history?
Business, but I'm mainly in podcasting.
Amazing. That's important to have on this panel.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
That's very important.
And Kim, last name?
Weston Moran. Hi.
Weston Moran.
Theater arts, yes.
Amazing. All right, so thank you all amazing women of your own right, and together women. I would like to begin by asking each of you to introduce yourself and the industries that you work in as much as you feel necessary, and also to speak in your own life and experience as an artist, what it means to you to build audience. What in the world of audience building does that mean to you? So you're holding the mic. So that means you go first.
Hello everyone.
And we each get 2 minutes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 minutes. I'll make it short. Well, I guess I've got a bit of a head start because my background is in brand. I'm a visual artist and I work across illustration, lettering, design, and my own art practice, and I strive to communicate all of those to my audience, and my audience is very wide and varied. Do you want me to make it longer?
Sure. What do you think your audience is drawn to in your work?
I think they're drawn to the colour, energy. There's a particular voice that spans across all my work, a visual voice, and if they meet me. Trying to be short.
Terrific. 2 minutes is longer than you think.
I kind of covered it. I'm not big on waffling, really.
That's
but,
true.
you know.
Aren't they supposed to be speaking to the question or no? How do you build? How do they build?
The question that I asked, just to start us all off today, is what is your own understanding of what it means to build audience?
Okay, my understanding of what it means to build my audience is to engage through multiple platforms. I use a lot of social media. I'm a big Instagrammer because it's perfect for visual artists, and you don't have to get into all this is what I ate for breakfast stuff that you do on Facebook. I also do use Facebook, but I use it in a slightly different way. I don't use Vine yet, but I'm starting to use, and for those of you who don't know, that's for moving image.
What's it called?
Vine.
6 seconds.
It's a 6-second.
F-I-N-E?
V-I-N-E.
Oh, Vine. Oh, thank you.
I also use Pinterest, not enough, because Pinterest actually is the biggest driver of all social media traffic and makes the most sales. Yeah, or you should all be on Pinterest. Pinterest is a really important social media tool. But I mean, and I also have my own website, obviously, and my own business card. I do very little networking because I don't enjoy it, and I can't really be bothered. I do go to some networking things that I enjoy because I like the people who go there. I'm not very good at going to things just to get business, really. I'm just more interested in the people that go there. And I personally get most of my work through recommendation, so I don't really heavily market myself, which is probably my downfall.
Terrific.
But I use all the platforms that are available to me, and most of them are digital.
Thank you.
Hi. So I'm a choreographer, and my company is Kinesis Project Dance Theater, and Kinesis Project creates large-scale outdoor dances. I take my work and I do make it in a studio because of the way that I create, but then I place it in large spaces outside, so in botanical gardens, in sculpture parks, in normal parks, on benches, in fountains, wherever. I'm currently really fascinated with construction and grain elevators, so I might be doing something in that sometime soon. So there's a big question, but that's my work, and then there's a big question in dance specifically about how to get audience connected to dance and seeing the value of dance. Dance is one of the things that is the least valued of the arts as far as how the audience sees it. So I've been doing a lot of work in getting audience to take part in process. I actually invite the audience in as I'm making work. I ask people to come and join us in a studio for an evening as I'm making a work in front of them. So they get to be present while I'm making decisions with the dancers, and they get to see how the dancers generate movement. And I get to have someone that I turn around to and say, so what did you just see? And how did that make you feel when you saw that? And then when I get that response, I don't necessarily make what they would like me to make, but then I can make some choices with the dancers. And it means that they have been there with us, seeing that moment of value and seeing then, the next week it changes a little bit and the next week it grows until it's in performance. And they know exactly where it came from, even though it has totally changed. So for me, this is an incremental way to build audience because I'm building community. And so when you were talking about social media is kind of like small cafes, right? It's ways of interacting with people in tiny little images and ways of having small conversations. And so what I've tried to do in my practice as an artist is actually take that way of having a conversation and an individualized experience and bring that into my process as an artist. Women in Motion, which is an organization that I founded and has now exploded because I have partners, thank you to collaboration, is an organization that supports female choreographers specifically, and we now commission 3 female choreographers a year. And part of the way that we support those choreographers by funding them through the year, or creating funding for them through the year, is something that we call salons. Heidi and salons. But it's a party where we bring people in and we bring other artists in who want to test out work, other dance artists or performance artists that want to test out work. And it's a gathering, so it's extremely informal. So there's no assumption of what's going to happen. And so that frees up the audience, it frees up the artists, and performances pop up around the room at different moments. And we always make sure that the artist is known to the audience, so that there is an acknowledgement and there is an ability to have a conversation, a one-on-one conversation with people and get feedback. But there's also the freedom of making a mistake because you're having a party in an apartment. There's not a lot of pressure. Everybody's got wine, snacks. And And that is another way that we've been building a network of audience and artists at the same time.
They did it.
That's everything.
Yeah.
Hello. So I own a couple of companies and I have a podcast. The first one that I have is United Tribe, and it is a transformational coaching company. So I deal with people in their life and their business, and I really look and strive to create results in their life and their business. The second one is the Hanger Studios, which is a podcast production company in Times Square, and then I have my own podcast called Big Girl Panties.
We're all wearing that one. Right? So the thing that I found that's worked throughout these three projects that I have going on, and I've also really started a lot of other people's companies, whether they are speakers, authors, I mean, they're artists in their own right. And what I found that really works is connection. It's really about connection, and I don't mean like who you know, because that always helps. But I mean actually, let's talk about networking events, right? Most people hate networking events because all you're doing is getting cards shoved in your face left and right. And then you go home and you throw them in the garbage. That's exactly what happens. So nobody cares. But if you actually connect to that person as if they're a human being, instead of saying, hey, what can I get from you? Or what can I give you? Then you start creating lasting relationships and you cultivate them like you do with anybody else in your life. And so really, I mean, the key for me in building audiences is connection, and it's also collaboration.
Absolutely.
If you want to grow really fast, collaborate with people. Because then you are a part of their network, and you're a part of their network, and the next thing you know, there is just, you can call anybody at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, let's go dancing, right? So that's really how it works. It's really about being in relationship. It's really about being in relationship with people at an authentic level, where you're not just saying, okay, let me see what I can get out of you. And that's what I've found works the best. And you can use that in social media. Cultivate those relationships on social media. Cultivate those relationships at networking events. Ask who this person is. Who are you? What are you about? What are you passionate about? Instead of, what do you do? Where do you work? How much do you make? It's like nobody cares. So, get real with people and get connected and be vulnerable with them, and that's how you build your audience in my world.
Hi. So I'm a filmmaker, a writer, actor, and producer. And I think in terms of talking about audience, the most useful thing that I can do is kind of talk about my own trajectory as an artist, because I think my career has been a very clear demonstration of how audience is now driving industries. And that, as we were talking about with the gender parity panel earlier, the ability to drive your career through an audience is actually opening doors for women that wouldn't have been opened before. So let me tell you what that means for me. So when I wanted to make my first film, I had an all-female team of producers, a female director, and a female writer, which in the film business is like a radical idea, although I didn't know it at the time. And then I had a film about 2 women. And the whole story of us trying to get it made was we kept going to these pitch meetings to people who could make the film happen, and they'd say, well, people don't want to see films about women, come back when you have something else. And I was like, but I want to make a film about women. So through a crowdfunding campaign, we scraped together $30,000, and 300 people gave us anywhere between $5 and $100. I think nobody gave us more than $100. And then we set out on the journey of making a film and talking about process. I think film has a unique challenge in terms of audience building in how long it takes to happen. Like a film takes at least 5 years to make if things are going really well. It can take like 20 years. So it's very hard as a filmmaker because like the time lapse in between your projects is very large. And also they give you their $25 and like, great, when can I see the movie? And you're like, When that child you're pregnant with is 5. So what we did, but we had these 300 people who had literally given us their dollars, right, to make a movie. And so
what I started doing is I put them all in a newsletter, and I just every month I started sending them a letter from me. And I wasn't 100% honest when things were going badly, but I was pretty honest. And when things were going well, when we had a win, I would tell them, and when a month before we were going to shoot, we were 20,000 short of what we needed to shoot, I told them, and like, they came along on that journey with me. And then we had a website, and there was the ability of people to sign up, even if they hadn't given us money for this newsletter. So this goes on for 2 years through, finding the rest of the money and making the movie, which we made for $80,000, which is both an enormous amount of money to raise and also nothing in the film world. But we made it. And so by the time this film came out, that 300-person newsletter list had turned into 2,000 people, because people had said, hey, like, I'm like getting to learn about this film, because I think we underestimate as artists how interesting the creative process is to people who are not creative. So they'd say like, oh, I've got this friend who's a filmmaker, and like, you should join the newsletter. So 2,000 people is not a whole lot of people, right? But these were 2,000 people who had literally followed that movie for 2.5 years, like every month, and they had wept with us, and they had gotten excited with us and the whole thing. So we really had 2,000 warriors. So this film, again, it was $80,000. We had no stars. We were nobodies. Like, this film had everything going against it. It should never have gotten distribution. Like, for a film like this to get distribution is unheard of. But we got into film festivals, and we started using those warriors. And they started getting their friends, because they cared. They had a stake in this film, and they cared about it. And we started filling theaters in the film festivals. And we had sent a film to a distribution company, and they had passed on it. But the head of this distribution company happened to be in one of these theaters, in one of the film festivals. He agreed to come watch the film at the festival. And the audience was packed, and the response was electric. And immediately after that screening ended and that Q&A ended, he came up and he said, I'd like to distribute your film. And I said, really? And he never got the film. He didn't get the film, but he saw that we had an audience, and he could make money off of it, which is great, right? Like, fine, whatever. And then we got a 12-city theatrical release, which again, for a film this size, is like, doesn't happen. And again, those theaters were filled with people because we hosted them in the towns where our warriors lived. And so this film that should never really have gotten any play got a lot of play, got a lot of press, because this whole time these 2,000 people were, oh, I have a friend who works at a newspaper, blah, 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 blah. And my career, because of that film, has taken off at a level that, again, it shouldn't have. But it was all because of those 2,000 people. And I think that is a really good demonstration. And 10 years ago, that couldn't have happened. It happened because of Facebook. It happened because of the internet. It happened because of newsletters. So I just think use that power to climb the trellises of these, towers that do have mechanisms to keep women out, but like, we don't need them anymore. We can go, and build our own. Anyway, sorry. That's an important story. Thank you for sharing.
My name is Lee Anderson. I am a singer, songwriter. I play the flutes, I play piano, and I do musical theater. So that's a musical person. Unfortunately, but fortunately, for me, I'm in a very personal industry. Music and songwriting is literally vomiting your heart on a piece of paper, recording it, and handing it out to people. So the longer you are in the industry, the more you sing, the more people you touch, they remember you. And the longer you are in the business, you end up collecting all these people that just want to hear more from you. And I call them my tribe. They're the people that I look out on stage and I look at them, and they're a collection of my family, my friends, people I met on the train, coffee shops, people that saw me when I was little. It's a collection of people that I just met along the way that just love my music, love me, and just want me to do better. And so they continue to follow me. And what I can give back to them is consistency. Always having something new, always presenting more material, more shows, and being loyal to them. Like if they talk to me, I have to say something back, even if I don't know them very well. Even if I just met them at the supermarket, I have to continue to talk to them and build relationships with them, find out what they like. Don't just be like, oh, thank you for the 99 cents, bye. Actually love them and appreciate them. And that's what Carlos Santana always preached. Without people listening to your music, where would you be? You would not be paying your bills. You would not be, where would you be? You'll be up the creek without a paddle. And so giving back to the people that have been following me and just love my music, people that have supported me in the past, supporting them back and loving them and giving them genuine love, not fake love. That's what a musician, that's how you build participation in the music industry. That's how you get fans, just being loyal to them.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shellen Lubin. I'm a songwriter, playwright, and director mostly, and voice teacher, vocal acting coach. But I'm also co-president of the Women in the Arts and Media Coalition. And I agree with everything everybody has said, so I'm not going to repeat anything, but we believe so much in connection and collaboration that we give a collaboration award every 2 years. So this next coming year, we're going to be doing it. It's 4 projects by women from 2 different disciplines, from 2 different of our member organizations, collaborating together on an arts or media project. And this is part of the reason why is because one of the other things, and this goes back to our conversation earlier, that you discover as you move up through the levels of the systems that be, let's put it that way, very often you get to a place where there's one woman in the room, if there are any women in the room. So if you look at until the last 2 big, they say we're about eclipsed in Waitress, if there was a female playwright on a Broadway play, there was a male director. If there was a female director, there wasn't a female on the rest of the team at all. You look at it, it's really fascinating. And so very often when you're at a high level, and you discovered that in all your meetings, you'd be the one woman in the room. And so it was really important to us to encourage women to be working with other women, which continues something that I learned years ago when I was doing a solo cabaret career, which is all you have for an audience at that point are the people who love you and love your work. And that can go, particularly pre the online era, that can go in ebbs and flows. Whereas when you work on a project with someone else, with a group of other people, then you're not only networking, but you're combining your audiences, you're combining the people who follow your work. Now, I used to put up, and still do sometimes, these combined cabaret acts of people who are coaching with me, because then all their audiences would see each other's work, and then if they liked it, they would then want to continue to follow them, because otherwise people are working in little vacuums. Now, it keeps changing. Nobody's in a vacuum anymore unless they really work hard at it, because the world has changed so much. But here's an interesting thing about connection. For all the people who know my work through the coalition, I'm also the VP of Programming of the League of Professional Theater Women, all the people who know my work that way, all the people who know my work as an artist, all the years that I've been working as a songwriter, as a director, the people who know my work the most are through this blog piece that I write every week called the Monday Morning Quote. It's on my website, it's on Facebook. If you just want to go to mondaymorningquote.com, it'll come up. And it's interesting because it's connected to the writers that I quote and then write the blog piece, not always agreeing with them. Sometimes it's 2 quotes that completely contradict each other that I then riff off of where the contradictions are. It's not just about the quotes. and I've been writing this since long before there were bloggers. I've been writing these since 1998. But now they're out there, and they are the thing that I am most followed for. And I totally believe it's about the connectivity. And so and they are not the same thing, connection and collaboration, but they are both critical for building audiences within your own discipline and genre and across disciplines and genres.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Morrison. I'm also in film. I am a camera assistant and DP, director of photography, and also a producer. Again, these ladies have touched pretty much everything that we look for to build an audience, and the one thing that really touched me was the connection. The connection is big, and within my production company, we speak to each other and say, well, why are we building this? Why are we creating our own production company? There's so many out there, everyone's doing it. What makes us different? And we sit down and think, we're like, well, what's true to us? What's really connecting to our hearts and possibly not being seen out there? And for us is dealing with the issue of race and minorities having very specific roles and always getting casted in these specific roles. And so what we've taken on is creating projects of our own and putting minorities, I know you don't like that. We spoke about that word earlier, she doesn't like it. But the thing about minorities, is we create these characters that are prestigious, and we audition and cast minorities in these prestigious roles and show that they are more than capable than playing the stereotypical type. And from that, what we get are the audience that touches those topics. And then we can then collaborate with other communities and other production companies that they have a specific target audience too. Like, we know a company that targets strictly Hispanics and shows what Hispanics are able to do and how they're creative and they're talented and they're intelligent and they're now being recognized, and it's very important to collaborate with them because we're not here alone. And I think that's the biggest thing we really have to understand, is that we're not here alone tackling these issues and putting ourselves out there, and we have to get together and collaborate and connect with each other. So, thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Felicia, and I'm an author. My first book that is out is a romantic comedy novel that I co-wrote with my co-authors in the audience, Victor. It's called Metropolis, and so, as you can see, I really believe in collaboration. I have another book in the works that is a biography of a Taiwanese revolutionary. He's 97 now. And so, for me, building my audience, I think as an author, it's kind of interesting because you have different audiences, meaning you have a different audience depending on the subject matter of your book, and then you have an audience of people who may be interested in you as an author, and they may want to know about you personally. So it's really important to keep those audiences in mind. And then I also think as an author, it's important to know what your audience likes. So for example, if I was a young adult author and I knew that my young adult readers were into a certain type of music, maybe I would include that in the storyline or something like that. And then I also think that, so of course I'm on social media, we do live events for our books, we do readings so that people can see us and they can engage and hear our work. I also had a podcast called the Talking Taiwan Podcast, because I also have, my audience is also the Taiwanese and Taiwanese Americans, so that was lend into my other book about the biography of the revolutionary. And I also think that artists should really think of themselves as entrepreneurs, because you are it's your own business, you are your own brand, and it's very uncharted territory. It's not like being in other professions, like being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. So I'm also very interested in the entrepreneurial space. So I like to put on events or share information related to entrepreneurship. So I guess that in a nutshell is how I try to connect with who I think my audience is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim Weston Moran, and I am the Executive Director of Rhythm Color Associates, which is, it's so funny listening to the women. I'm like, boy, I'm in good company up here, because we're all kind of thinking alike, and it's really exciting to hear. The tagline for Rhythm Color Associates is presentation and collaboration. And I've been doing that for 10 years with that tag, so it's kind of nice to hear that people are actually trying to reach the audience in ways that they can participate in the creative process. I love the creative process. I am an actress first, that is my first love, but I produce, direct, and teach, and coach. And basically, Rhythm Color Associates does special events, festivals, seminars, things like that. And I have a series called Potpourri, World Women Works. And Potpourri is new works in development by global women playwrights and screenwriters. So what basically I do is I find spaces, and Heidi has been very supportive in the last year, which I'm so excited about. And we present new works, and I have a concept called First and Second Look. So you will have your reading done, say, in the first week, and then in 2 weeks, you will come back after you, and we also work with the dramaturg. I think that is very important. You don't have to always take what she says or he says, but they do help you define and get closer to the story you want to tell. And so in 2 weeks, after the first reading, and they have a Q&A, they go back to the drawing board, and they don't try to rewrite the whole play and get this masterpiece in 2 weeks. They pick 1 or 2 things that they focus on, and then they come back and get feedback again. And sometimes I get pieces that are in very early stages, and sometimes I get pieces that are ready to go. So what I've decided to do is have a part 2. So the series takes place in March, and in the fall, I'll select 1 or 2 pieces, and we'll give them an intensive 3-day to a week workshop. And then we will invite producers to come see it if that piece is at that level. So part of about audiences, developing audiences, a strong part is having the audience be part of the creative process. I think that is so important. I was listening to you talk about that, and I got really excited. And I almost came, no. I'm sorry, I did comedy for a long time, satire, you know, nothing is sacred. But anyway, I have to be that way. So basically, what we do is, because I'm also very grassroots, I'm very community oriented, and I have been for over 30 years. So what I really like to do is reach out to the big people and to the little people, and invite the person on the block, like when we have it at an art gallery. I might walk through the block, hey, we're doing this reading series, come on, you know. And what I found, I've been doing this 7 years, but actually I did 4 years, and then I started back. I took a break for 4 years, and I started back 3 years ago. The first 4 years was very exciting. I had it in Harlem, Midtown, Lower East Side, and Brooklyn. And I found that my audiences were following me. You know, if that at first look, they had a part of it, they had something to say, somebody was listening to them. They'd never been, some of them never been to live theater. So now they could even join in. So they wanted to come back the next time. But what did she use my idea? What did they do? You know, and that's what you want. You want to build the audience. Of course, people who go to college, who have degrees, you know, they've brought up usually on theater or been exposed to it. But a lot of people that are in the inner cities, they haven't. So I don't even need the mic, right? That's part of the trajectory. And the other part is that I wanted to level and balance the playing field. Speaking of, which I call people of color as opposed to minorities. I say people of color, and we're all color, white, purple, green, orange, you know what I mean? So basically what I'm very interested in is balancing that. And what happens is, especially with black plays, I can't really speak for Latin as much, but with a lot of black theater, a lot of young white directors coming out of Yale, wherever, cut their teeth on our work. And if you're going to really deal with diversity and multiculturalism, then I, as a black director, should be able to direct the white work. And if you look around, you will see that that's not happening in New York City. Now, it happens around the country. I know women who, direct Asian, blah, blah, blah. But I would love to have a Puerto Rican direct a Japanese piece. Yes. I would like to have an Irish woman direct a Haitian piece. Or, you know what I'm saying, just mix it up more. The other thing is, and for all you LBGTs, don't get offended. But what I find is that right now we do have a gay mafia running theater. And what happens is straight black men are thrown to the throne. I'm glad we women are out here doing it. I never had that problem because I always did my thing. But black men, and I'm not vouching for them, I'm just saying if we're going to deal with diversity, they should be directing again too. But we don't have it. And it bugs the shit out of me because everybody should have a voice.
I just want to say something about that.
Yes.
Because it's not, I think, it's not LGBTQ. I have been starting to write a song called Everything's More Important When It Happens to a White Man.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about. It's that they're white men, and now all of a sudden we see a play about middle-aged gay couple having kids, dealing with, do they still have love in their lives? I'm going, if that was a straight couple that was about a woman and had been written by a woman, nobody would care. They say it would be a kitchen sink play. Nobody wants to hear about this issue. It's because everything is more important in our world. Obviously, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying is perceived as more important when it happens to a white man. Mm-hmm. And next after that, it's even when you, forgive me, when you talk about big people and little people, the second chorus is, because I have to write the song, I haven't written it yet, everything is more important when it happens to celebrities, mm-hmm. and then the third is, everything is more important when it happens to pretty people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so that's what I have to say about that.
I mean, I agree with everything you said, but in keeping with the political climate of America, who's in jail? Basically. So, without further, I don't know if I answered your question, but I do use some social platforms because I am, at this point, kind of one person. When I started out, I did have an executive director, and then we moved on. So I just talked to someone new. Now, what I found, which was hard in my producing, was I had all these people up there as associate producer, but basically that's what they wanted, their name up there. They weren't trying to move potpourri forward. So when you'd ask them certain things, oh, I don't do that, or they were late with everything. So this year, I had said to myself, as a producer, you have to eat shit, right? That's just the name of the game as a producer. So I decided instead of eating everybody else's shit and mine, I would just eat my shit this year. And I just had a meeting with a woman who I have a great respect for, and I think I have an executive director, which is going to change everything. So I hope I answered your question as far as audience building and inviting the little people and the big people, and also trying to touch as many, that's why it's global, as many audiences as possible. And I also focus on children's when I get pieces for children, because I think that that's also how you build your audience for tomorrow.
Terrific.
Wow. Thank you all for your transparency and your honesty and your authenticity. And I heard so many things repeated among all the panelists up here, and I wrote down a lot, but some of the star points that kept coming up that we're not alone in this business. And there's often this perception as women in white male-led industries that there's only enough room for one of us. Mm-hmm. And so there is this sort of rat race mentality of trying to get to the top, whereas what I'm hearing here, what's happening happening among female creatives in New York City is this really revolutionary thing of cross-cultural collaboration, cross-discipline collaboration, inviting the audience into your process. Someone said, we don't realize how sexy the process is. Not in those words, but it is a sexy process. It's suffering on our end, but it's actually really exciting and electric for people to be exposed and invested, and for that to be a currency of sorts. When we go into those rooms where there is the table of white men, and you're trying to be heart in the room and say, what is the connection here, but they're not interested in connection. Or that's the assumption, rather, in the room. So you're walking in with the loyalty that you have to your audience that you have not acquired, but you've actually earned. And that is, and I'm hearing this over and over again, that an audience is not to be acquired, it is to be earned and cherished.
Yeah. Can I throw in a useful PSA about that?
Yeah.
So there's a new website called Patreon. Yes. I don't know if anybody uses this. Patreon, Patreon, and it's basically a way of sort of institutionalizing that. So you sign up as an artist, and people can sign up to give you a certain amount of money per month to be let into your process. So they could give you $5, and then you put up, you give them X amount of things per month. So it could be a blog post or a drawing or whatever. And it's sort of a way, because people don't want to pay for art anymore, so it's kind of a new way of rethinking, if they don't want to pay for the end product, can they help support the artist to make the work?
That's a great question. I think so.
Pay support the artist to support the work.
It's a per piece moment. So something that I heard
repeated in different ways by everyone, besides collaboration and connection, something that I heard said, even if we didn't say the word, is vulnerability. And the willingness to be vulnerable, and then the other part of the successful moments of each person is the willingness to stay consistent in that vulnerability. Because it's one thing to open up your heart once and hope that audience will see it, but then as people start to see it over and over, and you're consistently putting a monthly newsletter out, they are staying connected, and there is a reason to stay connected. And the barrier of who they are connected to starts to disappear. And it is the art, and it is you as the artist, and it is the community that you begin to build around your art.
Yeah, please.
And I don't think a lot of musicians do this, but it's best to have an office day where you wake up extra early, 6 a.m., and you just scroll through everything, your emails, your Instagram, your Facebook. You respond to every message that you got from love. Everything, anybody that supported you, every message on YouTube, SoundCloud, just thank them. Just thank them. And they would appreciate that more than a lot of other things you could give them, more than a t-shirt or a free download, just to thank you.
It sounds, oh, yeah.
So, okay, so everybody knows that, everybody who came to the workshop knows I have a podcast, and when I started off, and I told the story in the workshop, but when I started off, I just had an idea of like doing an interview style with entrepreneurs. It was kind of like for rote. It was a little boring, actually. And I might have had like 1,000 listeners for the first 3 episodes. But then when I started opening up and becoming vulnerable and really talking about, the parts you usually don't want to show people, like we all like walking around with our masks, right? We love it. Yeah. But as soon as I took it off and I started on the mic, it shifted, and in 7 episodes, I had 77,000 downloads worldwide, in like 16, I think it was 16 different countries. So it really changed, and now, anytime a new country comes on, I'm like, hey, Ecuador, and I don't know if they're even looking at my social media, but still putting it out there that, hey, thanks, thanks for letting me spill my guts to you, and thanks for like listening every week. And that's really when it started picking up, is saying, hey, I'm human. just like you. And I know you're listening to this in your pajamas or in the bathtub or whatever, doing whatever you're doing. But you're listening to me, and there's connection in that. So yeah.
And what is your podcast? I'm sorry.
Big girl panties.
Big girl.
Big girl panties.
Yeah.
I know you're wearing them.
So what draws audience in, it sounds like across disciplines, is a willingness and a bravery to show yourself and be seen.
Yes.
In our deepest, darkest, or brightest places sometimes, which can also be very vulnerable. And that essentially that's why we're in this business. We're here to create and express and be who we are. And there is a business element to it. And I'm left wondering, how do you find audience in that room? In that room where you are entering a new industry, or you're trying to rise in the industry. And it could be that my conception of it as an outsider is also a little warped, because I don't know what that's like to be in a room. And if any of the women on the panel can speak about, you talked about actually inviting the big and the small to the table. And what has your experience been like in relating to the big and the small?
I'll try to give you an example this year. Well, when I first started, I was still deeply into acting, and so I was acting with some of the big boys, or I've known them for a long time. So I would ask them, I know you always wanted to direct, why don't you come direct one of my readings? They love that. You know what I mean? It's a reading, it's not a full production. Or can you come do the reading? So then it went down, and then this year I did it again. I started reaching out to people who had high profiles. I knew an actress who wanted to direct, and she's a brilliant actress, so I said she's probably gonna be a good director. So that's how I kind of do it. I reached out to, and I don't want to say his name, but I reached out to a very famous actor who I knew from 50 million years ago. And so I told my girlfriend, I said, I reached out on social media to this guy. And she said, girl, he's not gonna give you any money like that. And I just thought to myself, watch, just watch. It's gonna take a minute to cultivate him. But you watch, and don't you know, this morning I do what you do. I don't get up at 6, sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't go to bed. But I check my social media. And I got a knock from him. He poked me. And I was like, oh shit. I mean, this guy is very high profile. He's worth a lot. And so what I decided to do, because the first time I just said, oh, I need some money, I need to get this series. And he just said, hey, that was it. So this time, I said I'm gonna ask him for 50,000, 10,000 a year. You know, and I figure if I get it from him, maybe I'll get it from somebody else I know. And then I can do my series and I can pay everybody. I don't need a lot of money to do it, but then I can pay everybody, because it's very important to me as an actress that even if you only give them $10 car fare, whatever it is, that you give them something, because actors really, you know what we do. We struggle. Yes. You know, we run from that job to this job to that audition. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I think as you collect your audience, it's important to be a little obsessive and insane about collecting audience in a place where you can reach them again.
Yes.
So,
can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so I think picking a social media platform that works for you is really important. Like Instagram for you, I'm way too long-winded for Twitter, so like I can't do Twitter, but Facebook is good, you know? So I think whatever is best for your personality, and collecting people in one place, or if you have a blog or you have a newsletter, because you meet people all the time and they will be your audience, but you have to be able to get to them again. So like when I had film screenings, I would hire somebody to stand at the door and make sure that they collected the email address of every single person who came out of that theater.
I do that too. Yeah.
Whether they wanted to or not.
Right.
You know, so you have to be a little bit crazy about like collecting your people in one place online, I think.
And then caring for them when you have them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So centralizing your audience and feeding them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And the word cultivation, you just said the word cultivation, and if you can think about it kind of from a very kind gardening perspective, where they are something that you find they are connected to you and you are connected to them, and because of that, the two of you are incredibly beautiful just keep giving that care. They deserve the care, and they love you, and you love them because they're taking in your art.
Just to piggyback on that, good art speaks for itself. If they love your art, they automatically love you.
Yep.
And so you have to, that just says everything. That's why you have to keep in touch with them and collect them, and so you can continue to hit them up and let them know where else they can find your craft.
Yeah, before I say this, I just wanted to apologize to Kim. I forgot when I interjected that you were still in the middle of your introduction because we'd already gone down the line, and I'm so sorry for interrupting your introduction. Okay, good. So these two things are two small points, and it's about women, and it's about studies that have been done about women in the workplace, not even specifically in our industry. But I think it relates to some things that are being said, and it's always worth remembering. One is women are afraid to ask for money. I thought about that when you were, saying about approaching this person. Women are far more afraid to ask for money. I find that site that you're talking about really interesting, because that whole notion. And the other is, and this may not be directly related to what we're talking about, but it may be of value to you in looking at these same things. They did studies, and if a man has, let's say, 2 of the qualifications needed for a job or a task of, let's say, a list of 10, they'll go, oh yeah, I can do that job, and go set themselves forth as, yes, I am totally capable of doing this job. A woman needs to have all 10, or she will not say she is capable of doing that job. This is all related to everything we're discussing today, and I just sort of wanted to throw those 2 points in.
So we have Maggie and then Kim.
Okay.
We want to make a little bit of time for the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, try. So Maggie, Kim.
I just wanted to say for visual artists, because Instagram is a brilliant platform, and I'm very obsessive with it, and I've crossed over from digital to real world, so I've sold things through communicating with my followers, and can't use her name. There's an art director at the New York Times who's been following me, and so I've taken that into the real world, into real things. So, but that's, somebody said there, if you produce good stuff, people appreciate it. But you do have to, you have to love them back. And Instagram is it is all about showing appreciation. But for visual artists, Instagram can be a very powerful platform.
Quickly, I just want to say that at my readings, what I do is I always give them something to eat. And a lot of times you don't, I feed them, not dinner, but, dips, cheeses, if I have the money, wine, things like that. And that also is a community. That's a way, like what you were saying in the apartment, I love that.
Yep.
That's a way of building community. People love that. They love to have because a lot of times I have to fight them. Come on, get back in the Q&A, because they're over the food, just running their mouth and networking. But people really love that. So that's something you might want to consider at different things that you do. Offer them some cheese, some dip, grape, fresh fruit, cider, whatever.
Nourishing on many levels.
Yes, I like that. I'm going to steal it.
It's copyrighted. Go for it, I respect you. All right, anybody in the audience?
My name is Lisa Bergantino. I'm a musician. I also have a business, and I do music supervision and music licensing. I spent many years touring with an all-girl Led Zeppelin tribute band. So I've done a lot of different things, and my sister and I, who she's going to be performing with me later, we also have a musical comedy act we do together. So we're involved in a lot of things where we use different social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, and we do a 15-second clip of our act, or Twitter or Facebook. One thing that I want to say is that's still very important with all of the social media is the mailing list. Because the social media, things change, algorithms change. The reach that we had on Facebook a year or 2 ago is not what it is now. You used to be able to have 500 or 600 people see something right away.
Yeah, they
And now you
show
can,
it now.
so things change, and the algorithms are changing for Instagram as well and Twitter. So I just want to reiterate the importance of the mailing list, because those people, you know, you've got them, and you can communicate with them directly. And I just want to make that point.
Oh, I want to add to that. So I definitely want to add to that because it's so, but I also have some email addresses that I don't use anymore. And someone will say, I emailed you. I'm like, oh shoot, that's not a relevant email anymore. You know, like once Gmail became the thing, AOL was knocked out of the system. So one of the things that I found that I wanted to share, because I was searching so hard for something, was it's called a client management program, where it's Insightly, and there's like there's a level where it's free and then you can pay to it. But what I found so brilliant about it is you can literally write notes about each individual. You can link it up to their LinkedIn, their Facebook, their Twitter, so it's a one-stop shop. And so if something changes along the way, you can always feel comfortable that you're gonna understand. And you can also categorize it by relationship. So how do you know this person? Is it through work? Is it through this workshop? And you can see how everybody kind of still connects, similar to what LinkedIn does. And put your own personal notes in there. So I just want to share that, and you can have an app on your phone with it, and what's it called? Insightly. INSIGHTLY.
So I just wanted to add one more point in terms of the mailing list. When you're sending out newsletters, there's a few things that you should also keep in mind. Don't forget to connect it to everything. So if you're collaborating with somebody, if you're friends with somebody, if it's a great tool for collaboration, because you can say, oh, by the way, and highlight a friend. And you can always add their link into whatever you're doing. Go check out our video. And the first thing she's gonna do is say, thank you so much. She's never gonna forget it. And she's also gonna repay it later. Believe me, they always do. But that's not the reason why you do it in the first place.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
And don't forget to add those links in there. Don't forget to add your links linking to everything, your Facebook, your Instagram, LinkedIn. And hey, you know, if you didn't see the last newsletter, by the way, here's the blog. Right? So add in those links in there and really collaborate with people and ask for guest bloggers. Get guest bloggers on there. Hey, do you want to write the article for my newsletter this month? It would be really helpful. I really think that you could, you know, enlighten my group. And then just offer for them to join their mailing list. And that's what I mean by collaboration. It can happen everywhere, everywhere.
And also, don't throw any business cards away. I still have some from 2003. I'm not lying. I have them in a box. I keep them with me, and it's actually something I learned from a lawyer. He was running for office in South Carolina, where I'm from, and he keeps all of his business cards, because you never know when you have to reach out to somebody. You never know when you need a drummer. You never know when you need a blogger. And all you have to do is just look in your box and see who you know. And it's sorry.
See who you draw out.
See who you draw out, exactly, because computers die, emails die, but the business card always stays intact, and if the email doesn't work, the number probably does.
I'd like to just add one thing.
And I think the wine is beckoning us everywhere, especially in the beautiful music that's going to be coming, so hopefully everybody stays after and mingles. The working title for these panels were working across disciplines to achieve parity and to build audience. And those of you who know me and have been working with me and collaborating with me know that that's really, really important for me, and why I built IWAS to include all the different disciplines. That one of the things I found, especially when we started the radio show, is that every person who came on the radio show, whatever discipline they were in, they almost always had the same issues, the same challenges. And it's sort of like, I mean, I kind of knew this in other ways, you know, collaboration is cool, you know, but then it just sort of clicked in my mind. It's like, you know, we could jettison ourselves and women's artistry zillion-fold if we really just captivate in that collective
power that we have and working not just individually collaborating and connecting, but also our industries. And if you're in theater, bringing visual art in, and if you're in visual art, bringing in a musician into your exhibition, etc. And then again, like you're saying, the audiences are crossing and you're building that. So I just wanted, I know it was touched on a little bit, but I just wanted to remind us to think about that and hopefully go forth and multiply. I don't know how that came out, but anyway, or why that came out. But I think it had something to do with Kim's comment over there. But anyways, so anyways, I want to turn it back over to Simi for closing, to honoring her moderating prowess tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Heidi, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you to all of the wonderful, deep, exploratory women up here. We went places today, and what really is sticking in my mind as a takeaway is that as an artist, we educate people about who we are. And something you said about holding office hours, it seems very poignant to me, because we want to invite people to get to know us not just through our expression, but through our gratitude and through our love and loyalty for them, and to feed them on many levels, and to invite them to invest in their time, showing up, money. There's all different ways to invest and to connect and be vulnerable with our audience, and that in and of itself is a creative thing, and that is who we are together and individually. So thank you all for connecting those dots for me and all of us and all of us together. And the wine is talking. Yeah, thank you.
We're going to open the wine bottles. They're already open.
Why do you think?